Colby Angus Black. So here, anyway, I made this handy chart to make it look like I know something scientific and I have facts backing me up. So for the fantastic profile picture, please pull out your cameras. Take my next amazing profile picture, Photoshop in as many cats and Chewbacca masks as you want. You can email them all to colby@colbyangusblack.com. I'm gonna look pensive for a second. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. So I felt a rush of emotions when I was asked to do this, and those emotions ran the gamut from this is going to be amazing all the way to oh my God, what am I going to talk about, and how will I get the projector to work. The first few days, I was convinced this would devolve into that episode of The Office where Michael is speaking to the business school class and he's throwing candy bars at people and making bad puns. Don't snicker, this could be my big payday. Thank you. I felt a ton of pressure because I've been a big fan of TED Talks. A fellow Texan, Brene Brown, taught me so much about shame and empathy, and David Blaine taught me how he held his breath for 17 minutes, and Sydney Mills just now with her amazing passion presentation. Wasn't that great too? Yeah. It says applause, so you should. And I thought maybe there was a typo, and instead of a TED Talk, they wanted me to give a Tex Talk. Maybe the organizers understood that it's hard being a Texan and living up here, and that you understand that because Texas provides this protective cocoon to keep you concealed from embarrassment. And now that I live up here, when I click on a news story with a crazy headline, I just chant, please don't be Texas, please don't be Texas, please don't be Texas. Like, I don't want to be embarrassed of the place and my upbringing. The other day I saw one. It was underage drinker released after beating cop at rock, scissors, paper. Click. Please don't be Texas. Please don't be Texas. Damn it, that happened in Texas. And then runaway teen lives undetected at Walmart. Click. Please don't be Texas. Please don't be Texas. Yeah, that was Texas. Felt like a Florida, but no. And then woman stabbed in the eye fighting over last barbecued rib. Uh-oh. Click. Indiana, yes! Feels like a win. And additionally, I had a lot of trouble coming up, working on this TED Talk. Besides the handicap that comes from 17 years in the Texas public education system, my job kept getting in my way. And, hold on. I need to respond to my boss's text really fast, and his email, and his Snapchat. Sorry. But that's the world we live in. Our jobs are trying to seep into everything. Despite Tyler Durden's best efforts, we've become our jobs. I probably shouldn't make a Fight Club reference, though, to a room full of people that don't remember a day when Apple's headphones didn't suck. Like, what was wrong with these, Apple? These were great. These are terrible. My friend Michelle tells me that I hate my job better than anyone else. And I might be the best, but I'm certainly not alone. The last best stats I could find come from the 2013 Gallup survey entitled blank. State of the American Workplace. The key finding in this is that 70% of US workers are not engaged in their work. However, the copyright page for Gallup's completely free and downloadable State of the American Workplace report says, this document contains proprietary research, copyrighted materials, and literary property of Gallup Incorporated. It is for your guidance only and is not to be copied, quoted, published, or divulged to others. Therefore, I am not quoting Gallup's 2013 report entitled The State of the American Workplace. I'm quoting the New York Daily News, Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, who all quoted the story somehow magically in spite of that copyright page. So suck it, Gallup. So here's the thing about the phrase 70% of US workers are not engaged in their work. That is as close as you're going to get to the phrase I hate my job on a survey form. And I guarantee you the range of options went from not engaged to zippity-doo-dah, give me more work please. Someone make this stop was not on the form. However, after reading that copyright page, I don't think I'm allowed to tell you how the survey was put together, lest I be deported back to Texas just for talking about it. Also, let's look at the word engage. When you take out all the definitions that include marriage and fencing, you get this: to participate or become involved in. So the headline, 70% of US workers are not engaged in their work, sounds pretty bad on its own. But then you flip it around, 30% of US workers participate or become involved in their work. Good Lord, that's terrible. So I know what you're thinking. Colby, the people that hate their jobs are the people in the lower echelons of society, those that have the jobs that deserve hating, like the ditch diggers and the garbage men. As the French say, on the contrary, my brother, because the good news buried in that report that I apparently can't talk about on page 38 is a headline that says, more educated, less engaged. Which is to say, we as a society are rising up and saying, I don't like this. And for the record, while digging around all these stats, one thing shocked the crap out of me. I found a job satisfaction survey that ranked 300 different careers. It was from myplan.com. They surveyed 13,871 users during their registration. There were 300 different careers listed. Coming in at 297 out of 300 was optometrists. Optometrists. Like, realizing there might be nothing else you get out of this talk, I just want to emphasize this and give you one thing. It's a simple request. Be kind to everyone. Be especially kind to your optometrists. Apparently they're having a tough time. Optometrists, I've heard your cry for help. I see you. So look, there's a phrase that originated in the military that I think applies here. It's called embrace the suck. Because if our continually failing education system, our cumbersome healthcare system, and our societal addiction to firearms have taught America anything, it's when we're on the highway to hell, we don't pull over. No. We just set the cruise control and we just shrug. We just keep going. Hating your job does not and will not mean there's something wrong with you. You're not defective for hating your job. You know that phrase, I wouldn't do that if they paid me? They have to pay us to do jobs. So quickly, here's some of my background so you can avoid my mistakes. For the last 16 years, I've worked in advertising. There was a brief stint where I worked in math textbook publishing, which is oddly a job they'll give someone who's not very good at math. And people here, I work in advertising, and they picture this. Don Draper from AMC's Mad Men, who's portrayed by this guy, John Hamm, on the left. I grabbed that off an Instagram feed for a establishment in Midtown Manhattan called Foley's. I grabbed it right off their Instagram feed. And just to show how different I am, here's a picture of me, also off their Instagram feed. Here we are side by side. See, look how different we are. So Colby, why don't you just get a job in another industry? Well, thanks, Mystery Voice. I've tried. Over the last 6 months, I've applied to like 100 jobs, none of them in advertising. I had one interview with a startup where a guy said, you don't want to be working on other people's ideas, you want to work on your own ideas. And he's right, other people's ideas are dumb. I'm an only child. Did I mention that part? So the day after that interview, I got a call from an ad agency. They needed someone just like me for a couple months for a freelance gig. I said, sure. We're on month 4 of the 2-month assignment. There's 2 more months left. My advertising career is like the real life version of the movie Groundhog Day. It just keeps going over and over again, repeating itself. But this is about the benefits of hating your job. And I'll start with something you might not expect. On April 21st of this year, Prince passed away. He was 57. He was and is mourned by millions the world over. Do you remember where you were when you learned that? Because I do. I was at work at a job I hate. And at work day afternoon, I popped my headphones in and created the most amazing Prince playlist you've ever seen. I celebrated his entire catalog before I got home that night. I posted some good tributes online. I was a great Prince News bureau. And by the time I got home, I'd pretty much processed and come to grips with Prince's death. All because I hate my job. When it comes to processing loss, I'm a better person for hating my job. My hate of my job has done amazing things to keep me from getting complacent. I've dabbled in storytelling, improv, stand-up comedy, things I never would have tried if I got loads of satisfaction from my job. I'm more well-rounded because I hate my job. In fact, a friend and I have started this happy hour for Insatiably Curious called Renaissance Person. There's live demonstrations, interviews. We teach people how to fold fitted sheets, which has been an amazing hit. And our second live event is again tomorrow. Another benefit of hating your job, everything else seems pretty okay in comparison. I've been a lifelong fan of the Cleveland Indians. They haven't won a World Series since 1948. 1948. Since then, we've added 2 states. We've added 127 countries to the United Nations. And in fact, the United Nations got a building since the Cleveland Indians have won the World Series, which seems pretty terrible, right? But compared to my job, that's pretty okay. In fact, when you hate your job, pretty crummy things in your life, Or sometimes welcome distractions with a built-in coping mechanism. A few years ago, I dated a woman who couldn't stop cheating on me with guys named Steve. 52-year-old Steve, 27-year-old Steve. She left no Steve unturned. And it was a bit like Dr. Seuss was writing a romance novel. One Steve, two Steve, new Steve, old Steve. And many of my friends remarked, well, Colby, given the Steveuation, we haven't heard you complain about your job in forever. Look, welcome distraction, thanks to hating my job. And also, let's say you're on a long run and you're thinking about stopping, and you just need to conjure up like that one angry thought to just keep running. I've got angry workout thoughts for years. I could run back to Brooklyn right now. I have to admit something to you, though. A funny thing happened last week. I had a couple really good days at work right after I wrote this. And it got me to thinking, like, do I sometimes love my job? Am I falling in love with my job? Don't get sucked in. You shouldn't love your job. You should love yourself. You should love your girlfriend. You should love my girlfriend. She's that awesome. You should love our dog. He's that awesome. You should love your parents. You should love your friends. Friends. I had a lot of friends, I couldn't pick one. You should love some of your coworkers, like a few of them. You should love your neighbors, but don't love your job because your job can't love you. Your job cannot love you back. Loving things you can't love is horrible. I think it's codependency, but I wasn't paying that much attention in therapy. And there's another dumb fit about hating your job for 16 years. It's instilled me with the most amazing confidence because I know if I can keep at it for 16 years when I hate it, I can do absolutely anything. Even this.